I have dedicated my professional career to the study and control of arthropods.
Hi, I wanted to kind of make a video. This is going to be a little bit unfocused. I apologize in advance for that. It's kind of just some ideas that have been sort of kicking around. Kind of follow up to a lot of my earlier. I tend to go on and on about certain subjects, but it is because I believe they can't be stated enough. And this is back. I just did a 5-part response to Empty Without Jesus, his videos on Darwin. I felt the need to reply to, but just in general, I have talked about this idea of these beliefs, judging ideologies by the people that follow them and such, and I have creationism, young Earth creationism. I think just really does still stand quite alone in being a belief system, and I'm going to state this, and if it offends somebody, well, I don't know what to say. To be a young Earth creationist and honestly believe that it's true, okay, you have got to actually deliberately remain ignorant about a vast majority of science. And I know you get these. I love science. You get these creationists talking about how much they love, the famous Hovind line about, I love science. I've taught science for 15 years, whatever. But I see that's kind of parroted by a lot of you guys out there on YouTube, especially, talking about how much you just love real science. You just don't like this fake science. But the reality is that to believe in creationism, you have to ignore, like I said, major portions of a spectrum of scientific disciplines. You have to believe simply aren't true. And in order to maintain that, in order to keep believing in creationism, you literally have to, and I think that this is purposefully done by the leadership, make sure that adherents put their fingers in their ears and say la 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 every single time they're presented with evidence. They simply, if I becoming more and more convinced, they make these claims. I mean, I just watched a response by Don Exodus where he's talking about addressing the idea about sharks haven't changed, so therefore that disproves evolution. These kinds of things. I mean, the arguments, they're not only not convincing arguments for creation. Okay, these little holes that you guys try to poke in evolution. They are nonsense arguments, but they're such nonsense arguments that I almost believe you would have to actually take a number of college level biology courses just to understand why they're nonsense. Does that make sense? You guys are putting forth these arguments that I have to go back and look at comments to make sure that I'm not watching another Ed Current or something like that, because I see this and it's like this can't be real. Nobody is that stupid. But you know what? I'm surprised on a daily basis about how stupid some of you people can be, how deliberately, willfully ignorant about just the basics of life. I mean, not to keep going on Empty Without Jesus, but he keeps, he's just one of thousands, unfortunately, that continuously make this fallacy about the complexity of the first cell, and so non-life, the first cell, and how that first cell had to have spontaneously arisen from chance chemicals coming together, and then they calculate, usually they like to throw out a bunch of these incredibly impossible 10 to the 38th to 1 to the 10 to the 38th power against, or something like that. Anyway, these ridiculously large numbers, and this kind of thing, but in that they ignore, for example, the fact that it's not non-life, it's not chemicals, and then a cell with mitochondria and membranes, and a eukaryotic cell, which is the comparison they make. They ignore the archaeans and prokaryotes, and then even before them, even simpler than that, are all of these this very, very, very fuzzy line. We now know we have complex organics that are not alive. We have replicating molecules that aren't alive. Maybe they're alive. Viruses. We have this whole gigantic continuum in between organic chemicals, non-living organic chemicals, and this complex cell. And it's been known for decades and decades that this exists. But they pretend not to know it. They pretend that abiogenesis meant that at some point in time a bunch of carbon compounds just happened to all fall together into a complex amoeba or something like that, and that's what we're trying to say happened. Anyway, things like that. So you have to remain absolutely ignorant. You have to make sure that all of your information, is at least 40 years old in terms of what science is. And I always laugh when I read these things, because I see these arguments that it's very funny, because you'll read something like, let's see here, I think I have it. You read like Henry Morris, from 1972, Scientific Creationism. And he'll have this statement in there where he's like, a recent analysis by Solly Zuckerman or something like that, And then I see how many, 35, 38, whatever, years later, almost 40 years later, there's a creationist on YouTube going, a recent analysis by Solly Zuckerman. I'm like, you're just parroting that now. Now, just by the terms, by the fact that you're using the word recent. I don't know. I'm sorry. See, this is a meaningless ramble here. I apologize. It's just a couple of thoughts that I've been having. I didn't have a really coherent plot line for a video today. So, anyway, I think I should probably end it before I make more of an ass out of myself. So.